The forest slept under a silver moon. Every leaf glowed faintly, and the wind carried a stillness that felt unnatural. Silverpaw stood at the edge of the valley, his silver fur glinting with a soft blue hue, his mismatched eyes fixed on the horizon. He had walked for days, driven by something he couldn't name. The elders had warned him never to cross the ridge, for beyond it lay the lost lands where the shadows whispered and the stars forgot to shine. Yet tonight he had no choice. The faint hum in his third ear, the small glowing blue one, was stronger than ever, like a pulse calling him home. His muscles tensed, claws digging into the earth. The air carried the faint scent of rain and something else, something electric. He took a breath, steady and deliberate. "I am not afraid," he whispered to the wind. But the forest didn't answer. Only the faint rustle of unseen things moved in the dark, watching, waiting. The ridge was steeper than it looked. Silverpaw climbed in silence, the moon now hidden behind clouds. At the top stood the ruins of an ancient stone gate covered in vines and glowing symbols. The symbols pulsed softly as if recognizing him. He touched one with his paw and light burst across the gate, painting the darkness in pale blue fire. A sudden voice echoed from within the light, clear, familiar, human. "You shouldn't have come." He froze. The voice wasn't feline. It spoke his name the way no cat could. The light grew brighter, and from within stepped a figure unlike any he'd seen. A tall being wrapped in a silver suit, eyes shining with a faint human sadness. "You carry what we left behind," the figure said. "The spark that remembers." Silverpaw's heart pounded. The figure raised a hand and his glowing ear began to hum louder, resonating with the light. "You are our last bridge," the figure whispered before fading into mist. Silverpaw stood alone again, but the air around him felt changed. The stars flickered awake, one by one, like they too had been listening. The valley beyond the gate stretched endlessly, filled with fields of silver grass that shimmered with dew. As Silverpaw walked, he heard faint murmurs carried by the wind. They weren't voices of the living, but echoes, memories of those who had once walked this land. The voices spoke in fragments. "We tried. We fell. The light. Protect it." His blue ear glowed brighter, absorbing every sound. The more he listened, the clearer the whispers became. They spoke of a time when humans and the old ones walked together, sharing light and memory. But greed had torn them apart, leaving the world to decay. Silverpaw stopped beside a cracked monument half buried in the grass. On it was a symbol, a hand and a paw intertwined. Beneath it, faint words were carved. "Together we endure." His throat tightened. He pressed his paw against the symbol, and a surge of warmth flooded his body. The earth trembled, and for a moment he saw flashes of the past. Humans and creatures building cities of light before fire consumed them. Then silence again. The monument dimmed and the echoes faded into the wind. Silverpaw stood taller, his heart burning with purpose. Silverpaw reached a vast river whose surface was so still it looked like glass. The moonlight turned it into a silver mirror stretching to infinity. He bent to drink, but what stared back wasn't his reflection. It was his past. The kitten he once was, fragile and naive, chasing fireflies in the meadows near his old den. Behind him stood the spirit of his mother, eyes kind yet filled with warning. "Courage, my son," her voice echoed softly across the rippling water, "is not the absence of fear, but walking through it." Silverpaw closed his eyes and dipped his paw into the river. The water shimmered and pulled him in, showing flashes of every choice he made, every battle, every scar, every loss. He gasped and withdrew, realizing the river did not reveal the past to torment him, but to remind him of what built his strength. When he looked again, the reflection was gone, replaced by calm ripples and his own steady gaze. The forest air felt lighter, and for the first time in moons, his heart felt whole. By dawn, Silverpaw arrived at an abandoned village deep in the valley. The place was filled with silence, broken only by faint chimes swaying in the wind. Old wooden huts leaned at odd angles, and rusted bells hung from their roofs. He stepped cautiously, his claws clicking on stone paths overgrown with vines. The bells began to ring faintly, even though the wind had stopped. Each chime carried a memory of the cats who once lived here, their laughter and cries echoing through the empty lanes. Silverpaw could feel their stories trying to reach him. He followed the sound to the largest hut, where a huge cracked bell stood in the center. The air shimmered blue around it. When he touched it, a vision erupted. A city of cats thriving in unity, now reduced to dust. The bell spoke and voices layered over one another. The world forgets, but the echoes never die. Tears filled his eyes. He lowered his head and promised to carry their memory forward. The bells fell silent, leaving only the sound of his breathing and the promise that their history would live through him. The path ahead turned darker, colder. The trees leaned closer, their branches like claws scratching the air. This was the path of shadows, where even light feared to tread. Silverpaw's glowing ear flickered weakly as he entered. Shadows slithered around him, taking shape, forming figures of fear and doubt. He saw himself failing, running, hiding. Each illusion whispered, "You will never be enough." The voices were loud and cruel, echoing in his skull. But then, deep inside, he remembered the river, the bells, and his mother's words. His heartbeat slowed. He stood tall, fur bristling. "You are not real," he growled. The shadows hissed and surged, trying to engulf him, but the blue glow from his ear burst like fire, spreading light in every direction. The shadows screamed and vanished into the soil, leaving only silence. When he looked back, his paw prints shimmered, glowing blue in the dark. He had crossed the path not as a wanderer, but as a warrior. Beyond the shadows, Silverpaw reached a cliff overlooking a canyon filled with mist and starlight. Stretching across it was a fragile bridge made of energy, stars woven together like threads of the night sky. The bridge shimmered with each step he took, as if testing his resolve. Below him was endless void, cold and silent. Halfway across, the bridge trembled. He froze. A star beneath his paw flickered, and voices of his lost friends echoed from the darkness below, calling him back. "Stay," they said. "You've done enough." His chest ached. Every part of him wanted to rest, but he looked up and saw the horizon glowing faintly, morning waiting for him. "I can't stop here," he whispered. He took a step forward. The stars brightened, forming a path of light behind him. Each step became easier, his glow blending with the starlight until he reached the other side. The bridge faded quietly, leaving him standing on solid ground. Silverpaw entered a forest blanketed in fog, the air thick with memory. Every tree whispered in tones that were neither alive nor dead. The leaves shimmered faintly, holding the final breaths of creatures who once walked these lands. As he walked deeper, he could hear fragments of stories, laughter, pain, regret. It felt as if the entire forest was alive with echoes of time. In the center stood a massive tree, hollow and ancient, glowing faint blue from within. Silverpaw stepped closer and realized that every mark on its bark was a name. Cats, wolves, birds, all engraved by fate. His glowing ear pulsed brighter. The whispers grew louder, circling him in waves. "Will you carry us?" they asked. Silverpaw bowed his head. "Yes," he said. "Your voices will not fade." The forest quieted instantly. A breeze lifted the fog, revealing thousands of lights floating upward like fireflies. They rose to the sky, joining the stars above. Silverpaw stood there, silent and strong, his reflection glowing in their light. The forest had found peace, and so had he. The sky cracked open with a roar of light. Beyond the forest of whispers, a tower rose from the earth, tall, white, and ancient, its surface covered in glowing blue veins, pulsing like a heartbeat. This was the beacon of Torenza, the heart of the forgotten alliance between humans and the old ones. Silverpaw approached slowly, every step heavy with the weight of generations. The ground vibrated beneath him, as if the world itself recognized his presence. The tower's door, smooth and seamless, parted silently. Inside, a vast chamber shimmered with liquid light, flowing like rivers on the walls. In the center floated a crystal sphere radiating soft energy. Within it flickered the faint outline of a woman, human, wearing the insignia of Torenza. Her eyes opened, calm and tired. "You've come far, Silverpaw," she said gently, her voice echoing like distant thunder. "We left our legacy in your kind because we knew you would remember when we could not." Silverpaw stepped forward, his glowing ear pulsing. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "Why not one of your own?" The woman smiled, faint and bittersweet. "Because humans forget too easily. You, the children of the world, remember." The sphere dimmed slightly as her voice grew softer. "The beacon must be awakened. Only courage can light it again." Silverpaw closed his eyes and pressed his paw against the crystal. A surge of power shot through his body. Light, warmth and pain blending into one. Memories flooded him, humans standing beside beasts, building cities that touched the stars, their laughter echoing through time. Then came the war, the silence, the fall. His body shook as the crystal's light poured into him, merging with the pulse in his glowing ear. The entire tower blazed alive, beams of blue light shooting into the heavens, piercing the clouds. Outside, the world awakened. The stars realigned, and the forgotten constellations of Torenza reappeared. Silverpaw fell to his knees, gasping but alive. He had done it. The beacon had returned. When the light faded, the world felt different. The air was alive again. The rivers sparkled with color, the trees whispered in harmony, and the sky glowed with constellations unseen for centuries. Silverpaw stood at the cliff's edge, the wind flowing through his fur. Below, life was returning, forests sprouting anew, waters clearing, mountains glowing faintly in the morning sun. He could feel them, the echoes of the old world, now finally at peace. Behind him, the spirit of the woman appeared once more, faint but smiling. "It's done," she said. "You carried what we couldn't." Silverpaw turned, his mismatched eyes reflecting her light. "Will you stay?" he asked softly. She shook her head. "We are stories now. You are the voice." Her image dissolved into golden mist that drifted upward, scattering into the wind. Silverpaw lowered his head, silent for a moment, then raised it high toward the sunrise. The faint hum in his third ear glowed brighter than ever, singing softly with the rhythm of the earth. He looked to the horizon, where the first human ship broke through the clouds, shining silver and blue, the symbol of the new Torenza. The ship's light touched the tower, connecting sky and land once again. A faint smile crossed his face. Humanity was returning, and this time they would remember. The wind carried his whisper far and wide. "We endure." His body shimmered, then turned into pure light, merging with the dawn. The beacon stood behind him, forever glowing, a monument to courage and memory. The age of silence was over.